Hey guys, so today on the Shed Sesh, we take a step-by-step look at installing the Joel's Garage Gear 2-post clear floor 4.5 tonne hoist. Okay, so we're about to take you through the install of the hoist, and I'm sure Joel's sitting there going, "Don't f*** this up, Damien." This might be a little bit of a long one, so sit back in your easy chair and enjoy. If I wasn't doing all the filming, I probably could have got it done in a weekend, but in between picking up the hoist, getting it in situ. Check out my other video. Just actually getting the hoist in the shed. It was, those columns are not light. If you were to install a second hoist, you'd do it in even half the time. It's just a matter of going through the instructions and just planning it out and building it. After I picked up the hoist and got it into the shed, I think the first weekend I started on it, and it's taken me a few months to get back to it. Please stick around to the end of the video, and I'll give you a few quick tips and gotchas, a few things that just sort of cropped up as I was doing the install, that if I had known beforehand, would have saved a bit of time and just made it a bit easier to assemble. Enjoy. Okay guys, so today is the day. We're making a start on the hoist. It's going to be interesting. Just trying to find the instructions and in the kit, and then we'll start assembling it. I'll show you in a second, what the kit comes with. We'll go through it. I'll lay it all out, and then we'll start trying to assemble it. I don't have the use of my mate this week, so I'm going to try it myself. And see how we go. So when you get the kit, you get the two columns, column 1 and column 2. They are different. The column that you mount the pump on has this bracket here, whereas the other one does not. Now you also get the top bar that goes between the columns. And there's the bump stop over there as well. That's the safety switch so you don't crush your roof on the hoist. You also get, obviously, the legs. 4 of those. Got everything spread around a bit at the moment. And a boxes of bits. You've got the cable, hydraulic lines, some brackets, and other bits and pieces. I think they're the feet. So I'll spread these out so we know what we've got. I'll follow the instructions. I think they're inside. And obviously you also get the pump as well. So three individual boxes. Really, the way they package it up, it's very small. Obviously, just very heavy when you've got to move it in, but there we go. So I have found the instructions. So that's box 1. So box 2 looks to have all the hydraulic and cabling in it with a couple of brackets. I'm going to keep the pump in the box just for safety's sake. All right, the feet or the legs. So to be honest, given it's a hoist, there's not a hell of a lot of parts to put together. Okay, first and foremost, we need to work out where we want the hoist. So as you can see, I've just placed them. They've been balancing for a week or so. So what I did was just draw out a bit of a floor plan of the shed, of the bay that it's going in. Obviously, this is the front door or the roller door here. I want to be able to come in. I want to work out pretty much that those, if I go directly in the center of this roller door, I'll actually go in and I'll be right in the center of the hoist. So every garage is going to be different. Mine's this is a 4 meter bay. It's in 4 metre wide by 6 metres deep. Not big enough, but yeah, it's done now. Okay, on this hoist you want the outside edge to outside edge. And I'll try not to go into too much detail, but 3,551 millimetres. Not 50, not 52, 51. So we need to move that out a little bit. No doubt, once you get the top stay in, you can move it around a tiny bit to straighten everything up. Next bit is to install these angle brackets right up there. So that'll allow me to put the cross brace on and start bolting it in. The instructions do say that you can have this, this can go either side because they aren't symmetrical. So we'll see. It doesn't tell you what bolts to use in the instructions, so you have to work it out. Looks like it's pretty easy to work out. Obviously, we need 8 for the 2 sides. This is the only bag. Decent bolts with 8 in. All the others have got 6 and very small bolts. So we'll go with those and get them up. Got the 2 brackets up, one on that side, one on the other side. Remember, these are still not bolted down, so when you're up there, don't push on it too hard. The instructions say those brackets can go on anyway, them ones, but this can only go on a certain way, and the only directional bit I can see is this bracket, this thing here. So I think that's for the hydraulic hose to be protected and run through there. So, but the instructions don't actually tell you what side it's supposed to go on. It said it's directional, but it doesn't tell you which direction to go on. So I've had to jump on the website, some pictures, and it looks like whatever side the pump is on, the hydraulic hose runs up furthest from it and then runs up there. Actually, there's some holes on here for the P clips. Anyway, so that runs up that side. So I'm going to guess that goes up to there, runs on the other side, and then goes down. So I'm gonna have to spin that thing around and install it. So by myself, it's gonna be interesting. Okay guys, so I'm going to pretend it isn't about 6 months since I started this thing, and I want to try getting back into it. We're in lockdown 4.0, so it's good excuse as any. So tip number 1, you've got your instructions. Instructions that come with it, although great, are black and white. Now I stumbled upon on Joel's Garage Gear, you can actually download them in colour and print them off. So you can distinguish between the individual parts. It's not impossible to use the other instructions, but it just makes it that little bit easier. So extreme amounts of measuring. You know, obviously once you drill one of those holes, there's no going back. You can't offset it by a couple mil. But what I did, I measured from the post to the front of the shed, the post to the back of the shed, on both of them. So they are centre. Next thing is making sure they're level. So actually you've also got to make sure that the twist on them as well, there's a little bit of play up there. So I've left them semi-loose so I can actually move these around and rotate them. So I suppose it's just a matter of adjusting a little bit here, a little bit there, just to try and get them all level. So it's that time. Let's start drilling. So you get a bag of Dynabolts or anchor bolts. So there should be 12 in there, I think, 6 for each column. And don't forget, you got to drill the hole as long as the bolt. So so when you chuck it in, it's not still sticking out. Let's give it a go. So I've just knocked the first Dynabolt in. Now, the instructions do say, make sure the column doesn't move. And what you find with all the vibration of the drilling, that if you can see it, a little X marks the spot. It's slightly out on that one. You can see the lines shifted a bit, so it's just rotated that way a little bit. So just be wary of that. And remember, here's where you want to try and add any shims. If you need to get it level, I need to chuck a tiny little shim in the back. But once you get the first couple in and you're shimmed, you should be ready to go. All done. You need to see every individual one of those, but the bolts are full depth. Just make sure you're not wobbling the drill bit around. And I've tightened them up. I haven't gone over manually, but I've just used the rattle gun and about bloody 15 ugga duggers. So I'll go back and do it manually in a bit and see. I'll just feel a little bit safer. Bolted in. Bolted in. Now I've just got to, I'll go up. I've left I left these ones up here loose. There we go, those ones. So I've left them loose, and I'll just get up, tighten those bad boys, get all my strings and stuff off, and then see how we go. Next on the instructions is raising the, I don't know, whatever you call them, the bits the car goes on, or the legs go on. You gotta raise them up into this lock here on both sides. So Joel, I don't know how you expect me to do that. It looks pretty heavy, but we'll give it a go. Okay, I thought this thing was going to have to come up here before it locks. As soon as this carriage gets in, you can hear it locking in, so it's locked in about 2 or 3. Now I just need to make sure the other side is exactly the same height, and then we'll fit the cables. So, doing the cables. Now either end there's a long and a short. I don't think I saw I read in the instructions which one's which, but if you pay close attention, it's the type of thing that's easily missed. The shorter end comes up from the bottom, and the longer one is the one that ends up coming down. So this is the main adjuster. So anyway, we'll try and run these bad boys. So I've done the first side. We'll film the second side now that we know what's going on. So what I've done here, you could probably drop this cable down through the top, through there, and when it gets to the bottom, spin it round. You don't have to take off that wheel to get the cable underneath the wheel, but it definitely was tight. It's probably the best way to do it. And then you poke it up, the other one up, to there. That plate can come off to adjust them as well. But then so that's the short end coming up from below, and it goes down there and around, up through the rollers up there. Now I haven't got it on the rollers at the moment because you need to take them off to get the cable over the roller. Then it goes down one side, and then, so I haven't put the rollers up there, and it comes down the other side, and there's the long end that goes in the top there as well. So now we'll probably do some fast mow through the fitting of the other cable. And whilst running the cables, it's always good to have a helper. Wear some gloves. You get a few metal splinters, and they're a bit greasy on the cable, which is fair enough. But just don't want the metal splinters. So I've got all the cables in. Looking at, looks like on the next page they actually show both nuts on the other side of the thread on there. So so I'll change that around because I've got one on here. So both nuts there. Now I've just got to get up and pull out the roller guide thing and put the cable over the rollers. The rollers are on down the bottom. So this is the cables run up here. I've just got to pull out this pin from there, and then run the cables over the pulleys. Now they just run either side. If you're afraid of heights, this isn't the job for you. What I've done here is adjusted the smaller rods. So these ones here, both the same on both sides, and then I'm working to get the tension on the cables. So you adjust that one for that cable, and then the other side of that on for the other cable. So I'll for the most part, you can just pull it down. Yeah, obviously it's a brand new cable. It's got to give a bit of leeway over the pulleys, and then I'm sure there'll be a bit of final adjustment once the fluid's in and the thing's going up and down a few times. Getting there. So now we install the hydraulic pump, the hydraulic unit on the side plate. Tip for young players, put them in the slotted hole. So the next few pieces, we have a short hydraulic hose, goes to there. We've got a T-piece, goes in there, and a medium hose goes right down the bottom of the angle, 90 degree, down to the bottom of that cylinder and into that T-piece as well. And then there'll be the longer one goes up there, over to the other side, to the other hydraulic cylinder. The other hydraulic line, this will go from the T intersection of the pump up along the top and down. Now it's got to go through those loops that are on the top. I'll show you when I get up there. And there's a bunch of, looks like P-clips that you know, strap it all to the posts. Yeah, we'll thread it through. So at this point we fill up the reservoir with N32 or N46. I've got 46. Bought this a couple of months ago, not sure why I chose it. I think it comes down to your location and temperatures and that type of thing, although it's bloody freezing at the moment. So takes about 12 litres going by the instructions. Okay, so I just filled it up. I think I forgot to press record. Excellent. So it takes about 12 litres. There is a dipstick in on the cap with a minimum maximum level. So I filled it up about max. Still got to fill up the hydraulic hoses and that type of thing. Make sure all your fittings are tight down. There's only like the T section, the back here, and the bottom of the columns. So otherwise you'll get fluid everywhere. Okay, next item on the agenda is the safety bar that goes across. So if you lift the car too high, if it hits it, it won't crush the roof, it'll stop. Alright, so she's in. I've fed the wire up through that extra hole there. And I'll go to the top in a sec and show you that. The idea here is that opens it up and turns the pump off. So, what I'm going to do up here is, feed these wires so they're kept away from the cables through here. There's actually the P-clips down on the other side are actually have a slot for the wire as well. First of all, get an electrician to wire this up. I can see why the wiring instructions aren't in for the safety switch either. It's actually 240 volt going up there and back down. With my accreditations or certificates over the years and diplomas in electronics, I'm actually allowed to wire up from an external, like from a plug, into a box, which is weird because if I used what was hanging out and I did any wiring on this side, on the outside of it, I can't do that. So I didn't go through the process of wiring that up, but definitely get an electrician in to wire it up properly. Okay, so now I'm up to running the cable that goes up across the top. So when you pull the lever to disengage the locking, the safety catches, it disengages both sides. So got the instructions there, found most of the parts, and we'll get them run. Okay, so I've put the wheels in for the cables. Now I've used the small wheels for these and the big wheels for those. One of the big ones with binding, so I wasn't quite sure whether it was supposed to be the small or the big, but I think once it goes on in the slot up around the back. The small wheels are the go there. The bleed instructions are up on one of the cylinders on the drive arm, but just read them. So what they pretty much say is raise it to the top, let it go down, raise it 3 feet, the arms 3 feet off the ground, and then just crack the bleed screws until clear fluid comes out. Do that either side, and repeat if necessary. So it should be bled. So we'll give it a crack. So now we've got the hydraulics bled. I need to, if you heard it before when it was going up, they weren't clicking on the safeties at the same time. So I just need to adjust the cables so they click at the same time. Let's adjust this one here and then get them at the same height. And then we are done. So, gotta tell you, quietly nervous as hell. Let's see how this goes. That gets you. Halfway there. The idea is move it down onto the stops and we'll work on it. Whew. Alright, let's keep going. This is awesome. Talk about life goals. Talk about life goals. See how far we can go. I have to say, I have wanted a hoist for most of my, actually probably all of my adult life into my childhood, so quite a few years. So to be able to realise that dream is absolutely magnificent. So thanks again, Joel. So I wasn't sure whether to talk about this, but I figured a company's standing isn't just on how cheap they can sell you something or how many things they can sell you. It's whether they look after you after they've sold something to you. If there's any issues or anything like that. I mean, an insurance company is only as good as when you go to claim. You can give them money for years and years, but until you claim, that's when you find out whether they're any good. So for the astute viewer, you might have noticed that there was another top beam on the floor while I was doing the install, and I already had a top beam up the top. Now, on the first weekend, I started installing. The manufacturing tolerance of that beam was just a little bit out, and it's quite easily missed, but it just stopped me from being able to straighten the columns, when I was trying to get the columns straight. Now, I jumped on Instagram and sent a DM to the Joel's Garage Gear page. Within, I'd say, half an hour, possibly Joel, somebody else, got back to me, said, yeah, I can see the problem. I sent some photos, I can see the problem. Literally early the next week, I had one of the guys at my front door with a new one. He even offered to jump up and swap it for me. I said no, it's all good. The rain was shocking. So absolutely amazing. Just had another question. I don't know whether I was supposed to know this or not, but the hydraulic unit, the outlet was in on the other side, so I just asked another question on Instagram. Within, again, half an hour, I got a reply back saying, just swap the plugs, job done. So, very impressed with the customer service. So, if that's something to worry about, see, if I hadn't have had something go wrong, I wouldn't be able to tell you how good the customer service was. But even just buying and going and picking up, the guys were great. To go through, the experience and the install, some of the things that were done great. Obviously, customer service, fantastic. Couldn't have asked for a better outcome. One of the things, threaded holes in the columns. They'd all been tapped out. You didn't have to twit about with them. You could just screw the screws in. Not a problem. A lot of the times when you get a something that's got been powder coated, we'll get to powder coating in a sec. Powder coat gets in the threads, and you struggle to install the screws because you're in awkward positions in some of these, and trying to install them, the easier it can be, the better. Bleeding the rams, I was dreading that. Couldn't have been easier. You would have seen in the video, but literally pump them up to a certain level, crack the bleed screw at the top. You could hear the air come out as soon as fluid come out. Locked it off, job done. So I did do that a couple of times, she seems to be working well now. As far as cost goes for the for the unit, it's one of the most competitive out there, and it doesn't look like there's any shortcuts taken in quality manufacturing. So a couple of gotchas. Possibly I'm just a nuffy, but I happened to level the legs, the posts with some galvanised steel I had lying around, which worked well. But I did wonder what these were. I'm going to guess these were the shims that you put in under the bolts and level it up. It wasn't in the instructions, and maybe I should have just known, but now you know what they are. Measurements were a little bit off. The measurements are very in the instructions are very exact, like so many millimeters. One thing I did notice, when I went through, I had both columns roughly in the right position. I just followed the instructions. I put the bar across the top. Then I obviously leveled, plumbed up one of the columns, and you're fixed at the top there. So you go and you plumb the other one up. That's going to move the measurement a bit. So it wasn't to the millimeter, but I think as long as you keep everything plumb, it's going to be within a centimetre or so. Now, probably one of the biggest things I thought, it was just it's heavy. By the time you work out what's wrong with it, you're kind of too far. But the legs, there was powder coat in the holes for the legs. Now the pins are very precise, and the powder coat is actually removed from the blue part of the ram, goes up and down, but it's not removed from the yellow part in the legs. And it's not until you get halfway through, Joel's like, Damo's lost his warranty. So as I said, it's not till you get halfway through that you realise that it's the powder coat that's in the way. Once you file out that powder coat, they go in quite easily. Now the legs, there's four legs obviously that go up. The front and the back. Two have stickers with a C on them. Nowhere in the instructions that I could see does it have these legs go towards the front or to the back. I suppose it depends on which way you have the the hoist set up and how much room you've got in front and behind the hoist. But I did notice in time when I was putting the pins in and the legs in, that I put two on the front, two on the back. Now the difference I can see is that two of them have 3 sections to the leg, and two of them have only 2 sections to the leg. So Joel, anyone, comment down below if there's a specific way of doing that. Now, one of the biggest things, as you're going through the bleed instructions for the rams, it does tell you to sit at about 3 feet off the ground to bleed it, that type of thing. So there is a fill level. It says it takes about 12 litres, and there is like a little dipstick in there for your fill level. Now, obviously, within the reservoir, as you pump it up, all the fluid from that reservoir goes into the rams and through the tubes. So if you fill that fill level up while the legs are still about a couple of feet off the ground, when you drop it down to floor level, all of that fluid that's in the rams fills up the reservoir and goes all over the floor. So just I didn't realise there'd be that much. I figured it'd go up a little bit, but I didn't realise there'd be that much. So after I mopped up that mess and just got a little bit of removed some of the fluid, not a problem. So I did video some of the wiring of the safety switch. I didn't put it in the video itself because it did work out that it was a 240 volt safety switch, Now with my background, I'm okay to wire in to wire an extension lead pretty much, or a lead into a box, but anybody that hasn't got the certifications to be able to do that kind of thing, you really do need to get a licensed electrician in to do the install of the safety switch and the wiring up of the hoist itself. There was nothing specific in the instructions as you went through to wiring up, and I'd say that's the reason. It did tell you how to mount that safety switch, but just not how to wire it up, because there's a couple of different options on ways to wire that up as well. I'm assuming there is a Joel. It's not just a business name to steer you away from the actual real name of the business owner. Should be called Joel Shed Gear. Just saying.
Maybe in public you could wear they said shed a set, and then people
I will one day.
and then people will actually recognise
Yeah, maybe.
as the shed sesh man. Or said shesh. Or said chef. Daniel. He could have said that on one of the Daniel.
That's a mouthful.